You're breathtaking. Midwives/gynecologists of Reddit, what's the weirdest thing you heard from a pregnant woman or her family that made you think they had no prior sexual/medical education? I've told this story before, but it bears repeating. I worked as a telephone triage nurse and received a call from a very concerned young lady. She said that she was pregnant and had gone to an appointment with her OB-GYN that day and had some questions. This was relatively common. Patients can sometimes feel rushed in the doctor's office or forget the questions they were going to ask, so they call and ask us later. Me? Okay, no problem. How can I help? Pregnant lady. Well, the doctor told me I can't have any more sex until after the baby is born. Me? Looking at her record in the computer. Okay, I see you're pretty far along and we're having some preterm contractions, which can be caused by sex. So the doctor recommends no sex so that the baby doesn't come too early. Pregnant lady. But how will I feed the baby? Me? What? Turns out, her male partner convinced her that babies needed to eat semen to develop, and this could only be done with PIV sex. I told her this was totally wrong and gave her a quick lesson about the umbilical cord. She was skeptical until I pointed out that single women and lesbians have perfectly healthy babies without constant sex. Oh, okay, that makes sense, she said. Then she thanked me and started to hang up the phone. I could hear her calling her partner's name as she hung up. Would have loved to have been a fly on the wall for that conversation. Oh my god, time to feed the baby. I know you're tired, but that little guy has got to eat. I had a girl call the office because she swallowed a cherry seed and was worried that the baby was going to choke on it. For some reason I'm thinking of Lewin from King of the Hill. I used to work at a family planning clinic, had a 19-year-old come in and she was pregnant. She was shocked because she had the Nexplanon implant in your arm to prevent pregnancy. Doctor didn't feel the Nexplanon in her arm. Patient says, oh, I got it removed last year. Then you aren't protected from pregnancy. Just a total lack of understanding about how it worked. That one's on the provider who implanted it or removed it though. Much as you would expect someone to know that once it was removed it wouldn't work anymore. That's the kind of thing that needs to be spelled out for some people. I'm a midwife. I was booking a woman at the beginning of her pregnancy and she wasn't exactly pleased about being pregnant. I asked her if she was sure she wanted to continue the pregnancy. There's no point me booking her if she wants a termination. She starts ranting about how it was the soft drinks industry's fault and how she's going to sue them. I was pretty confused at this point and asked her what she meant. She informed me that she had been washing her vagina out with cola following sex and that she must have bought a bad batch as she was now pregnant. I went to see a woman who had delivered her first baby a few days previously. I knew she had had stitches, but she seemed to be in a lot of pain. I asked her if she wanted me to check them and she consented, and when I did, I got a strong whiff of chemicals. I asked her what she was using to clean her vaginal area with. We advise women to just use water for the first few days. She told me she was using Dettol, a household disinfectant here in the UK, as she always used it in her kitchen and she'd never got off from her food, so it must work in preventing infections. A few words with me, and when I saw her the next time she was moving around freely like she was in a Tampax commercial. This one isn't really to do with sexual education but was really a what the fuck moment. We have bags that are given away to new parents and they have free samples in baby wash, fabric conditioner, nappy cream, etc. I examined a baby who was 10 days old and her skin was almost red raw in places. I thought it was the worst case of eczema that I had ever seen and that she should get the baby checked out at the hospital. While I was trying to get through to them, I asked her if she had been bathing the baby in anything. Again, we advise using water only for the first couple of weeks. English wasn't her first language, but her husband came home at that point and translated for me. They had received a free sample of fabric conditioner in the pack. This had a picture of a smiling baby in the front. They assumed this was baby soap, had bought a massive bottle of it, and had then bathed the baby in it. Neat. Luckily the baby had no lasting effects. Attention, humans with vaginas. Douching is bad. Douching with collar is very bad. We had a woman come to triage one day, in no visible distress, but certain that she was in labor. She denied feeling any loss of fluid, contractions, or pain. When questioned further, she explained that she was already dilated for. She was accompanied by her granny, who explained that she had checked her granddaughter at home and she was able to fit 4 fingers inside the vagina, so she knew it was time. Not in the cervix, in the vagina. Neutral face. No, granny, no, well, holy shit. Today I fricked up by letting by grandma finger me. Not a midwife but do medical triage over the phone. Had a 19-year ring because of abdominal pain. Asked further into the assessment as she was pregnant. She is. Call changes tone. How far along? 37 weeks. Could you be in labor? She doesn't think so. I just need to put the phone on my bed while I get changed. Why are you getting changed? But embarrassing. I think I wet myself. Do you think that could be your waters? She sounds skeptical but grudgingly agrees it could be. I ask if she can get to the hospital. No, everyone in the house is drunk. I ask if I can send an ambulance. She doesn't want me to as she has a house full of people watching the match. This is during the Football World Cup. She eventually agrees as though she's doing me a favor. I once talked to a pregnant woman who had come to a nap for her mother, who I was seeing. The woman was largely pregnant with twins and chomping on ice chips. I asked her why, because sometimes that can be a sign of anemia, and I would have told her to make sure to bring it up with her obs/gyn. She told me she always ate ice chips because she was allergic to water. Her mother agreed. Edit. For those mentioning aquagenic urticaria, I know that's a real condition, and what a cruel joke of one. She didn't have it. I learned about the ice craving with anemia/iron deficiencies when my body decided to give me a hormone imbalance as a 30th birthday present and frick up my period. Something horrible. It's not so much a craving as it is a literal compulsion to chew/suck on ice. I went through cases of freeze pops until I got onto Depot and got my iron levels back to normal via supplements. It was seriously awful. It goes like this. Me? Your pregnancy test came back positive. PT. Oh, I couldn't be. Me? Are you sexually active? PT. Yes. Me? Are you using any birth control? PT. No. Me? Then why don't you think you could be pregnant? PT. Because I couldn't be. Me? Dart. Repeat seen many times over past 20 years. Denial is not a river in Egypt. Edit. Thank you for the silver. I will pay it forward. I'm very new to Reddit and just figuring it out. I work on a busy labor ward. Took a call from a woman who wanted to ask me about a pregnancy test result. I tried to explain that we are for the other end of the pregnancy, but she wasn't really getting it, so for an easy life I just thought frick it and told her to go ahead. I had a baby 12 weeks ago and I've just done a pregnancy test and it was positive. What does it mean? Me? Can I ask you a few more questions? Sure me. Thank you. Firstly, had you stopped bleeding after having your baby? Yes me. Have you had unprotected sex? Yes me. Have you had any early pregnancy symptoms? Well, I've been feeling sick in the morning. That's why I did the test. Me. I see. Well, from the information you've given me, then the test may indeed be right and you may indeed be pregnant. But I can't be. I'm breastfeeding. I haven't had a period yet after having the baby. Me. Taking deep breath. Didn't your midwife tell you about contraception before you left the hospital? Yes me. Did you get any? No. Oh, shit. I get so many women who think they can't get pregnant if they're breastfeeding. It's bollocks. If you're reading this, breastfeeding, not using contraception and not wanting to have a baby in about 9 months' time, then stay away from all penises until you've got yourself sorted. Don't wait for your first period. You're fertile before it even happens. A shocking number of women think they cannot get pregnant if they're breastfeeding or just haven't had a period yet after giving birth. A lot of teens think if their period is irregular, they are somehow unable to conceive. You do not have to be menstruating regularly to get pregnant, folks. A lack of a period is not some natural birth control. Also, I see a lot of women who for some reason think they can't conceive after the age of 30 and are shocked when they get pregnant at 35 or 40 or even later. Not a midwife, but I had an acquaintance try saying that she was only pregnant for 6 months but that her baby came out full term, like her child was fine and needed zero medical attention due to being so premature. I don't think she was actively lying, but she was not a bright person. She might have found out she was pregnant at 3 months and just assumed that she was just newly pregnant by the time she found out. Or maybe she felt bad for drinking/partying early in the pregnancy, so she refused to acknowledge it until it was convenient. Either way, it sounded very fishy. Not a midwife, but did have an acquaintance who got pregnant while her husband was in the army deployed. She had convinced her husband that they needed to try and get pregnant. So how do they resolve the issue of long distance and time? They concocted the plan of using a turkey baster, where the husband actually mailed a package of his little soldiers to her and she used the baster on herself to impregnate herself. No doctors were consulted during this time, and this story all came to light in divorce court when someone actually convinced the husband the baby was not his. I had a coworker who was finding his family through DNA tests and was convincing every relative he found to take them. He got to one guy who was a soldier at some point and had his kids take the tests. Of course, one of his sons came out to not be his. I was told that he had always suspected as much because his son was born 11 months after the last time the guy saw his wife before going on deployment. My dad was a GP. He retired about 10 years ago. He had a couple, lovely people, very young, a bit unworldly, come to see him to discuss their failure to conceive. About 30 years ago, when I was 10 or so, he was bright enough to ask what they were doing in bed. They had both somehow come to the conclusion that what was needed to make a baby was penis/belly button contact. I have no idea how anybody was getting any satisfaction, or how on earth they kept believing this after doing it once. It must have been a horrible experience. He explained, literally, the facts of life to them, and on coming home had the talk with me and my brother, just in case we were all so stupid. The couple in question ended up with 2 kids. Good old dad. Amazing. As part of my midwifery education, we had a woman come in from a fertility clinic to talk about the process a lot of our clients go through to get pregnant. She said the first thing they always ask the patient, regardless of background, is how often they are having sex. The amount of people that thought you could get pregnant anytime after having sex, that is have sex and get pregnant from that sex 6 months later, was crazy. Also people who came from very conservative religious backgrounds and had no knowledge of sex and didn't understand why they weren't getting pregnant after getting married. Mother is an OB. She always says that the amount of people who don't understand that you need to take the birth control pill daily is unbelievable. She hates abstinence-only education. It leaves her with patients in their 30s who don't understand how STDs are spread, how you actually get pregnant, or that sex can be enjoyable for women. Abstinence-only education is the absolute worst. I once had a classmate tell me she made her boyfriend wear 2 condoms during sex, for added protection. Sad face.
Please subscribe if you liked the video. It really helps the channel to grow. Adios.